Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson, and kickoff is just days away. I could smell it. I could feel it. Man, Red Raider football is returning. I'm so excited to have real sports to talk about, real Texas Tech sports to discuss with you. Not just guessing, not just rosters. And I love recruiting. Don't get me wrong, but man, I like covering the games. I like talking about the actual games more than anything. And we're just days away, y'all, from finally after a 6-month hiatus of getting to watch Texas Tech in action. So part of the football season coming back is the team releasing their season opening game depth chart. And usually, at least since I've been here, this is it can be my 7th or 8th year covering Texas Tech here in a row and exclusively. And they've always just released the opening week depth chart, and then that's it. Then we just kind of piece it together, which is part of the fun. But this first one always really stirs up a lot of debate, a lot of talk. And so, of course, I wrote a story about it, or at least listed the depth chart. But I thought I'd break it down, at least some of my main takeaways, and talk about it with y'all. I think the first thing that stands out is that TJ Vasher's starting. And I know that may sound funny to some people, but he did miss the first couple weeks of fall camp. He was suspended for a couple of games last year at the end of the season, so he's had his problems. Nothing like really big with TJ, but it's been one consistent thing is how inconsistent he's been. I mean, one hand he's a great leader, the other hand, obviously he misses a lot of games, and he missed fall camp because he was having that focus on academics. But apparently he handled his business, and bottom line is he's a senior, he's a veteran, he is a leader. And you can't coach, I said this in another video, you can't coach 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan and combined with his type of athleticism. Coach Wells has labeled him as the number one, weapon in red zone weapon in the Big 12. So, I mean, he's certainly up there. Vasher is quite the weapon when, everything's working and he's on track and everything. I mean, he's tremendous when he's really focused. So if he is going to be focused this year, then look out, because him paired with some of the other receivers, including EZ, Eric Ezekama on the other side, who really came on late last year. Guys like Keyshawn Carter, Dalton Rigdon, all those guys. These freshmen coming up. Seth Collins is going to be in the mix probably. So, some real talent. And Vasher starting off the season, is a really good sign. Speaking of some of those freshmen, John Holcomb. Now, we all know that Travis Kuntz is going to be the tight end, but John Holcomb being listed as in the running with Connor Killian, who's a veteran leader. But John Holcomb, the true freshman out of Wellington up in the Texas Panhandle, being listed as a possible backup, that is really impressive. I mean, Holcomb, we've been hearing good things about him throughout fall camp. It's one thing to hear good, like, oh, he's doing a good job. It's another thing for him to be listed as the second guy at tight end. And tight end is such an important position in this offense under David Yost. So, Travis Kuntz is a stud, former 4-star guy, second year in the system. They expect big things from him. He's the man. Holcomb is next in line. That was big news to me. Speaking of big news, literally big news, Ethan Card is listed as the starting left tackle for the season opener against Houston Baptist. This is Ethan Card's first season with the Red Raiders. Now, he was an early enrollee. Ethan Card is 6'8". He's listed at 315 pounds. Last I saw him, I would say he's bigger than that. But he can really move for his size. As a matter of fact, one of the things that always stood out to me was I heard from somebody there with him that he was able to actually, he's a pretty good golfer at 6'8", 315. He could swing a golf club now. Those of you who don't golf or know about that sport, to be that size, first off, just to be that wide and be able to swing a club at all with your chest, the barrel of your chest, is really impressive. But to have that kind of coordination at 6'8", 315 or whatever he is really impressive. So that's the thing, is that, yes, he's big, but the guy has some serious athleticism to him, and I think he hasn't scratched the surface. He's coming from junior college ranks, but he was a full qualifier out of high school. I know the coaching staff thinks they think that they got a steal with him, but I don't know if anybody thought he would be starting at left tackle. He's protecting Al Bowman's blind side, all right? The quarterback, the number one quarterback, the guy who's been hurt a lot. This dude, Ethan Carr, this new guy, is protecting his blind side. So to me, that's big news, and we'll have to see how he does. Coach Wells said Monday in his presser that he likes what Ethan's done so far, but that he's going to begin, the reps are going to help him. He should get better and better as the season goes along. So that's something to watch. I mean, tackle was always going to be a concern. They brought in Josh Berger, a grad transfer. He's playing right tackle. Ethan Carter left tackle. They feel really good about the interior of the offensive line, and I do too, by the way, for whatever that's worth. Jack Anderson, Dawson Deaton, and Weston Wright. That's really solid there inside. Those tackles, if they can come on, they're going to have something going on the offensive line. All right, now here's another thing that stood out to me about the depth chart. The linebackers were kind of juggled from what I thought they would be. Now, I thought Colin Schooler would start inside, and he is. I thought there was a chance that Krishan Merriweather would either start or be backing up Rico Jeffers at Mike at the other inside spot. But that's not how it was listed. They had Colin Schooler at the wheel, but inside, as I expected. They had Krishan Merriweather, the junior college All-American they brought in, who I just mentioned, at starting at Mike. He could really run, by the way. And during his official visit, in full gear, he did a backflip at the practice facility. Just saying. And then Rico Jeffers, the veteran, he's played this before. He's actually listed as a starter at Raider. He did late last year. He played there at a necessity, honestly. And he did very well. Now, that leaves some other guys we were wondering, hey, what's going on with them? Like, to me, Brandon Boyer Randall's a guy I expect to play a lot. And so there was a question for Coach Matt Wells about that in the Monday presser. Like, hey, what's up with Randall? He wasn't listed as a starter. He said, guys, and he was listed at will, too, instead of at Raider at outside linebacker. Wells just really told us don't pay attention to that. All those guys are going to play in multiple positions, not just throughout the season, not just because of COVID, but also as part of their scheme because they have so much depth and they really like so many of the guys that even during a series in a game, a defensive series in a game, they might switch alignments and those guys might switch positions on the fly. That's how much they have them coached up. That's how much they like all the talent on the team and how versatile they are. So that's something to keep in mind when you look at the depth chart at linebacker for Texas Tech, which, man, looks better than I've seen it in maybe ever. Another big surprise to me, and I actually asked Coach Wells about this during his Monday presser, was Alex Hogan, the cornerback, true sophomore cornerback. He had a pretty good, he got burned some. It's the Big 12, and he was a true freshman, but he also made some really good plays one-on-one, matched up against some really good receivers in the Big 12 as a true freshman last year, and he's listed as the starter ahead of Adrian Fry, opposite Zach McPherson, who we all expected to start somewhere, wherever they need him. He's one of their best players on the team. But Alex Hogan was a little bit of a surprise to me. Wells said some good things about him. I don't know how much of this is affected by the whole depth chart is affected by the coronavirus, and some people sitting out or some people just coming back. So that's something to keep in mind, is that the depth chart's going to change even from Monday to Saturday because they're going to have 2 more tests, but also just what it is right now because guys have been out. Now, I don't know that Adrian Fry's been out. I truly don't. But I know I expected him to be a starter. I do think Alex Hogan is going to be a player. Coach Will said the best is ahead for him. He has really worked on his technique with new coach Jarret Jones, the secondary coach, and that everything is right about what Hogan's doing. He's doing everything the right way, and that they expect a lot from him. All right, my final thought on the depth chart I found interesting was the Spur, because we heard, okay, this is going to be more of a nickel position. This is going to be a cornerback type playing nickel, not as much of a safety linebacker hybrid, which it was last year. And then they list Kosai Eldridge as the starting, or at least in contention with Jacob Morgenstern, a linebacker, but a guy who can play safety as well, and then DeMarcus Fields, who is a defensive back. But those are the 3 guys listed in contention for Spur. So, I mean, you're talking about 2 guys really more as linebackers and then a DB. So, to me, that just seems like situational. And DeMarcus Fields is one of your best players on defense. So, he's not really third. He's not, I can't and I wouldn't confirm that he's been tested positive for the coronavirus or that he's injured or whatever, but Coach Wells said specifically when asked about DeMarcus Fields to expect him to play a lot. Okay? So whether that's at Spur or corner or safety even, which he's definitely capable of playing, DeMarcus is going to play a lot. I just found it interesting that Kosai Eldridge, who was really getting a lot of run at Raider, outside linebacker, and even some inside linebacker, was listed as the first guy, the first guy listed at Spur. And then Jacob Morgenstern is grad transfer. If you watch this video, or if you're on Inside the Red Raiders, then you know a lot about him. I've written about him. I've done my take for Inside the Red Raiders subscribers, where I break down his film and what he's going to bring. Special teams ace. I mean, he is a monster on special teams. He was Duke's best special teams player last year. So he's definitely going to do that. He's going to help all the coverage teams, and return teams. But he's also going to help as a linebacker. I mean, I really believe that. 6'4", 225. He can run really well too. So, and he's like, normal years, this guy would be a starter for sure. And he's going to be backing up as kind of a swing player at several different positions, including Spur apparently, which I always said. I even said in my take that I thought he could play like a safety hybrid for sure, especially in obvious running situations. So he's big and he can run. They have a lot of that going on in this depth chart, which is it's just a welcome change for a lot of recent past depth charts at Texas Tech. So I'm really excited about it. Excited to see what it's going to look like for real in live action. Against Houston Baptist will be the first test on the 12th, 7 p.m. Saturday at the Jones, of course, here in Lubbock. And then they'll have a bye. And then, then they host the Texas Longhorns in the Big 12 opener. I believe it's a 2:30 p.m. kickoff on the 26th. So it's going to be fast and furious. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I like this depth chart overall. My takeaway. I think this is a big step up from the last couple years. And I think if some things fall into place, which is 2020, so we'll have to see. But if some things do fall in place for the Red Raiders, then they can have, I think they're going to surprise some folks and have an enjoyable season, have maybe like a foundation building type season. So it all starts with the Jimmies and Joes. So it looks good. Looks good on paper before they kick off anyway. So with that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.